No single action impacted galactic history quite as much as when Palpatine initiated Order 66, the contingency order that made clone troopers turn on their Jedi officers and subdue them with lethal force. This brought an end to the Clone Wars and the Jedi Order, as thousands and thousands of Jedi were immediately exterminated by clone troopers that used to be under their command. Any remaining Jedi survivors were declared traitors and fugitives to the burgeoning galactic empire. While many survivors were hunted down by Vader or his Inquisitors, a handful of Jedi were able to escape the Purge and live to fight another day. These are top 10 more Jedi that survived Order 66. This is a follow-up to my first top 10 Order 66 survivors video, because there's a lot more than just 10. And if you notice that I miss any Jedi here, I strongly urge you to check out my original video, as the Jedi you're looking for may be listed there. The rules of both these videos are the same. I'm only going to be looking at Jedi whose fates are unknown to us, because, well,
there's no sign of his body, sir.
Then he's not dead.
That means as long as they were alive during the Clone Wars era and don't have a confirmed death, they are eligible for this list. And while characters like Obi-Wan and Yoda would have for sure been on this list normally, I'm going to exclude them here as we know how they both eventually become one with the Force. And of course, all the characters here are mortal beings, so we know that they all eventually pass on. But for some, we don't know how exactly that'll happen. This all could lead to potential future legend stories to let us know what happened to these characters, as their story is not yet finished. Also, spoiler warning from here on out. Number 10. Joc Sah. Joc Sah is a human male Padawan who was attempting to secure an outpost on Ragmar 5, a vital staging planet for the upcoming assault against the Separatists. On his first solo mission, he landed near a primitive settlement which had no interest in housing the Republic Army. The settlement defenders fired a rocket and destroyed their LAAT gunship, so Joc Sah and a squad of troopers confronted Gon, the leader of the small settlement, preparing to face off. All of a sudden, Order 66 was issued and the clones fired upon Joc Sah, much to the surprise and confusion of him as well as Gon's militia. Joc Sah dove for cover, and the settlement outcasts and clone troopers engaged fire. Joc Sah called his master Sev for help, but Sev was already killed by his own battalion of clones, and the clones aboard his assault ship sent down additional backup, just to make sure Joc was killed. Seeing his unique situation, Gon asks Joc Sah to join his fight against the clones, to which Joc agrees. They work together to take out Joc's former clone squad, but Joc is still confused as to what happened. Gon tells him that he was betrayed, and once again offers Joc to join his group, as he's now an outcast just like they are. Joc lets him know that they're going to send more troops, but Gon refuses to back down from a fight. A detachment of many more troopers arrive at the settlement and fire upon them. The outcasts, refusing to retreat or surrender, charge upon the oncoming troops. Joc Sah only appears in this one-shot comic in the Clone Wars adventures, and while it's very likely he doesn't survive following the end of this issue, seeing as how he is ridiculously outnumbered and his charge on the troops may suggest a final desperate stand against overwhelming odds, we simply don't know. He could have died, or the outcasts could have somehow defeated the clones. Until we get an official answer, Joc Sah's fate remains up in the air. Number 9. Coleman Kcaj. Coleman Kcaj, or however you pronounce that. Coleman is an angry male Jedi Master, who was appointed to the Jedi Council fairly late into the Clone Wars, and that's all about what we really know about him. We only really ever see him sitting in the Jedi Council in Revenge of the Sith, and in Season 5 and 6 of TCW. We don't even know if he lived to see Order 66. But as per the rules of this video, he qualifies to be on this list, because he is a Clone Wars era Jedi whose ultimate fate is currently unknown. Actually, it is crazy how little we actually know about Coleman, especially if you consider all the other Jedi Council members. We know detailed histories about Mace Windu, Ki-Adi-Mundi, Yoda, Kit Fisto, Shaak Ti, Obi-Wan, and Anakin. But Coleman, we really have no information about his life or his death. But considering that he sat on the Jedi Council, we at least know he's one of the greatest Jedi during the Clone Wars era. I would like to know if Coleman actually managed to survive Order 66, but I also want to know the history of Coleman's life, and why he was picked to be on the Jedi Council. Number 8. Noirah Na. Noirah Na is a human female Padawan who, alongside her Master Sims and Jedi Master Kai Hedora, were leading an assault against Separatist forces on the planet Tula, when all of a sudden, their own clone troopers began firing upon them. Master Sims was killed, but Noirah and Kai managed to escape. Later, while they were hiding on the docks, Kai Hedora noticed approaching clone troopers, so they dove into the icy waters to escape and then sought refuge in a warehouse, where they changed out of their wet robes and then thought about what they were going to do next. Kai Hedora, in disguise, wandered around the town, gathering food and supplies, while Noirah Na stayed behind and found a heating unit to dry out their Jedi robes. He admonished her, reminding her that the Jedi robes would make them a target for the clone troopers hunting them. Kai then cuts off Noirah's long hair, disguising her as a slave boy. They book passage for Coruscant, hoping to find answers and information there, only to come across a pile of burning corpses on the steps of the occupied Jedi temple. A Jedi in the crowd suddenly emerges and calls the disguised Jedi in the crowd of onlookers to help him fight for justice, but he receives no help as he's gunned down by clones. Kai Hedora realizes it was a mistake to return to Coruscant and disposes of both their lightsabers, knowing that there is no future for the Jedi Order, at least not anytime soon. He instructs her to escape Coruscant, forget the past, and find a new life. Noirah Na disappears into the crowd, and that is the last we see of her. Though it is not the last we see of Kai Hedora, as we see him again at the end of the Dark Times run as a casino owner, Noirah was far more reluctant to give up on the Jedi as Kai was. So is it possible she re-emerges when the Jedi Order is brought back? Does she get captured before escaping? Or does she start a family far away from the core worlds? She only appears in a couple of issues, so she doesn't get a lot of fleshing out. But I still want to know what happens to her after she leaves Kai. Number 7. Tera Sinube. Tera Sinube is an elder Caussian male Jedi Master, who is mostly seen instructing younglings, but is also an expert on the Coruscant crime world. He was integral in helping Padawan Ahsoka Tano after her lightsaber was taken by a pickpocket in the lower levels. Accompanying her on her quest to retrieve it, he instructed her to be patient and quiet with her mind. He helped her track down the thief who stole her lightsaber, and was even able to sense which apartment he was in. The pickpocket had already sold her lightsaber to a Trandoshan named Nak Movers. When Ahsoka and Tera arrived at Nak's apartment, he was already dead. Ahsoka chased the assailant, Cassie Cryer, who was wielding her saber across Coruscant. Meanwhile, Tera Sinube questioned Nak's girlfriend, saw through her lies, and realized that she was the one who poisoned the Trandoshan, and was working with Cassie. He even managed to place a tracking device on her before she escaped. When they caught up to the thieves at the train station, Tera Sinube revealed he had a badass white lightsaber and his cane the whole time, and subdued his opponent. Back at the temple, he reiterated to Ahsoka the value of patience, teaching her a lesson to be passed on like a true Jedi Master. Tera Sinube does not have very many appearances in Star Wars, especially since he was created for TCW, which came out fairly late in the U's lifespan. He only has a major appearance in one episode, but you can occasionally see him in the background of other episodes. And of course, we don't know if he survived Order 66. He doesn't seem to leave the Jedi Temple often, so it's likely he was inside the temple during Operation Nightfall. The question is if the old Jedi was able to escape the massacre. Number 6. Chase Piru. Chase Piru is a human female Padawan who was stationed at the Jedi training facility on Bogdan III. One day near the tail end of the Clone Wars, Masters Kakruk and Giselle were forced to land their damaged ship there. While the clones were making repairs to the ship, Chase Piru and the younglings prepared a meal for their guests. The Jedi didn't have too long to relax, though, because Order 66 was issued and the clones fired upon them. Chase helped the Masters block the shots from hitting the younglings. Masters Dumont and Giselle were both killed attempting to hold the clones off, but Kakruk, Chase, and the younglings all managed to escape, boarding a ship and fleeing into the depths of space. Months later, they were living comfortably on a jungle moon, gathering food and materials to survive. One day, a group of pirates also were forced to crash land on the moon. Kakruk was out hunting and separated from the group, so Chase was forced to defend the younglings from the pirates. Once they realized the younglings were Jedi, they took them prisoner to collect the Jedi bounty. Chase was shot and left for dead. Kakruk eventually found her and healed Chase. Afterwards, they worked together to attack the pirates' camp. Kakruk shot arrows at them while Chase directed the trajectory of the arrows with the Force. Unfortunately, Chase got captured and was held as hostage to draw out Kakruk. Kakruk came out of hiding and rescued Chase and the younglings, but he gave into his anger and killed the pirates, frightening the children. Later on, the group was shot down over the planet Archenia. Posing as refugees, they received some shelter in a camp. At the camp, they met with an old friend, Jedi Master Zhao, who helped them escape the camp in the middle of the night. Number 5. Zhao. Zhao is a blind, Vecnoid male Jedi Master. Unlike the Jedi who went on missions given to them from the Jedi Council, Zhao wandered the galaxy following wherever the Force took him. Also, Zhao had an interesting talent in cooking. How someone reacted to his cooking showed him about their standing in the Force. So a criminal would find Zhao's food disgusting, while a Jedi would find it delicious. On one occasion, he found himself on the prison planet Kifix, and by the will of the Force, met with Quinlan Vos and Tholm to help assist them on their mission. Soon they were attacked by Anzadi, led by the amnesiac Aayla Secura, and Zhao helped repel the invasion using his lightsaber, which, similar to Tera Sinube's, was disguised as a walking stick. The Jedi and Vilmar Gark pursued her on sky cycles, which were stolen by Vili. Zhao and Thelm noted the feral behavior of the Anzadi attackers, though Zhao was more concerned about Quinlan Vos leaning more and more to the dark side, and Vili was concerned that the blind Jedi was the one piloting the Sky Cycle. They were once again attacked by the feral Anzadi, but Joc Sah, the Jedi watchman of the sector they were in, showed up to assist. Zhao speculated that them coming together on Kifix to deal with Aayla Secura and the Dark Jedi Volfe Karko was the will of the Force. With Zhao and the other Jedi Masters supporting Quinlan Vos through the Force, Quinlan was able to defeat Volfe Karko and save his Padawan Aayla Secura. Following Zhao's example, Quinlan didn't return to the temple and decided to go where the Force took him. And much later, Zhao, being a wandering Jedi, was able to avoid Order 66, and the Force took him to Archenia to meet with Kikrik's group. They took some fruit and a covered hover wagon to avoid the militia, but they grimly discovered that the militia wasn't actually protecting the refugees. They were killing them out of revenge by dropping them from a great height into a gorge. Unfortunately, they were spotted by the militia ship, so they were forced to make a hasty escape and crash the wagon. One of the younglings, Sidiri, was enraged by the actions of the militia, thinking that they had killed Kikruk, and Zhao felt the dark side radiating from her. Luckily, Zhao was able to calm her down by having her reach out and feel that Kikruk was still alive. Though later, when the militia attacked them again, Zhao levitated a boulder to block off the blaster fire. To Zhao's distress, Sidiri force-pushed the boulder and crushed the soldiers out of anger. The native creatures, the Yunu, were grateful that the Jedi helped protect them from the militia, and brought the group to an abandoned Jedi outpost, where they could live undetected by the Empire. Zhao expressed concern for Sidiri that her experiences have driven her to the dark side. While living at the encampment, Sidiri ran away, and Zhao went to look for her. While Kikruk, Chase Piru, and the younglings finally seemed to be free from the Empire's grasp, Zhao and Sidiri never returned. Since Kikruk survived till the Legacy era, we can presume that his Jedi outpost on Archenia remained safe throughout the reign of the Empire, though we still don't know what happened to Chase or any of the other younglings. We also don't know if Zhao was ever able to find Sidiri. Number 4, Drakelogan, and number 3, Ekria. Ekria is a Barolean female Jedi Padawan, and Drakelogan is a human male Jedi Padawan. Ekria assisted Aayla Secura and Commander Bly in tracking down Separatist leader Shumai and rescue Barriss Offee on the planet Felucia. On the way to Felucia, they received a distress signal that Grievous started attacking Coruscant. Aayla was frustrated that they were wasting their time on a mission in the Outer Rim, but Ekria made the point that capturing Shumai could be helpful in the defense of Coruscant. Aayla agreed, but only because she wanted to rescue Barriss. Using Ekria's slicing skills, they were able to infiltrate the prison facility and rescue both Barriss and her Padawan Zonder. Meanwhile, during the invasion of Coruscant, Padawan Drakelogan tried to catch up with his master, Roran Korab, who was in charge of defending Chancellor Palpatine, but by the time Drake showed up, Roran was already dead, killed in battle by General Grievous. Back on Felucia, Aayla, Barriss, Ekria, and Zonder are all fighting Separatist forces looking for Shumai, but found out she left days ago. Even worse, Shumai's facility self-destructed, which spread a toxin into Felucia's environment, which according to Ekria's calculations would spread across the whole planet in just 4 days. Aayla requested more clones to help take over the water treatment facilities to stop the spread, and Drakelogan was also told to go help on Felucia by Anakin Skywalker. Later on, Drake, Ekria, and Zonder were able to penetrate through Separatist forces and make it into one of the treatment stations. Ekria was able to stop the spread of toxins at that particular station, but their signal was jammed and they couldn't reach Aayla or Barriss. Ekria was able to patch into the clones' cams just in time to see Order 66 issued, and both Aayla and Barriss were killed by their squads. Much later, having evaded the clones on Felucia, Drake, Ekria, and Zonder were living in the underbelly of Coruscant, just trying to survive day to day, using the Force to cheat at casinos to get credits. Ekria was able to slice their names out of the temple archives, but she still scolded Drake for being careless with public displays of the Force against clone troopers. She was still hopeful the Jedi Order would one day return. Drake, looking for a job, stumbled upon a Comp Nor function, hosted by Inquisitor Tremaine, giving a speech on the Emperor's glorious new order and the superiority of humans. Tremaine was able to sense Drake's presence at the rally. Drake joined Comp Nor under the name Jod Santa, and Zonder joined a construction crew. Zonder was due to be shipped off planet, but Drake discovered that they were going to put him into slavery. He tried to help, but his cover was blown, so he went to Ekria to help rescue Zonder. In disguise, Drake and Ekria snuck aboard the slave ship before it lifted off to rescue Zonder, but Tremaine was waiting there for them, and tried to convince Drake to join the Empire. After a confrontation, the three of them all escaped with a handful of other aliens who were willing to listen to them. A little while later, the three former Jedi were helping protect Coruscant's underworld as vigilantes. However, their actions in helping to stop an attack against an Amwadi couple got them noticed by Inquisitor Tremaine and Black Sun. Drake, Ekria, and Zonder made a deal with Prince Xizor to leave the couple alone if they provided him with information and promised to leave Coruscant. Unfortunately, Xizor turned around and sold out the Jedi to Tremaine for information about Vader. Tremaine was then able to capture Zonder and hoped to find the other Padawans. Vader arrived and used Zonder's communicator to transmit a holo image of him killing Zonder to Drake and Ekria. They decided that it was time to face Vader once and for all. Vader tried to manipulate Drake by lying about how it was actually the Jedi who killed Roran Garab and Anakin Skywalker, but it didn't work and Ekria came to Drake's rescue. Through an elaborate ruse against the Dark Lord, both Drake and Ekria were able to fake their own deaths so that the Empire would no longer keep hunting them, believing them to be dead. On Salonia, they held a funeral for Zonder. Drake and Ekria only appear in the evasive action web strips, and we don't know what happened to them after they were able to hide so successfully from the Empire. Sure, they gave up being Jedi, but would they be willing to come out of retirement if the Jedi Order returns? Or would Tremaine ever sense their presence in the Force and track them down again? Number 2, Ring Sol Ambase, and number 1, Nuru Kungurama. Ring Sol Ambase is a Kcaj male Jedi Master, and Nuru Kungurama was his Chiss male Padawan. 11 years before the Clone Wars, Jedi Masters Ring Sol and Dooku found a Chiss infant floating in an escape pod in space. Sensing his power in the Force, they brought the baby back to Coruscant, where he was to be trained as a Jedi. 11 years later, a group of clones known as Breakout Squad were searching the wreckage of the Separatist superweapon Malevolence, and discovered that some of the circuitry of the weapon came from Kcaj, Ring Sol's home planet. Palpatine sent Ring Sol and the squad of clones who had found the circuit board on a stealth mission to investigate Kcaj, but Nuru Kungurama, concerned for his master, stowed away on his ship. When they reached the planet, they were shot down. Ring Sol sensed his apprentice, but they went down in separate escape pods. The clone squad bonded with the stowaway Jedi, and they worked together to try to find his master. They ran into the smuggler Lalo Gunn, who helped them as long as they helped her get off planet. They also met the bounty hunter Cad Bane, who manipulated them to get into the prison where Ring Sol was being held. And Bane kidnapped Nuru's master without him even realizing. Palpatine then contacted them and gave Nuru and Breakout Squad a new mission to meet with the Chiss ambassador. They took off with Lalo Gunn and her ship, the Hasty Harpy. Nuru met with the Chiss ambassador Vireen, who was very unimpressed with Nuru's ignorance about his own culture and heritage. She told him that the Chiss were not interested in the Clone War, when all of a sudden a separatist armada attacked the station, and they were all forced to retreat in the Hasty Harpy, though they were pulled out of hyperspace by a black hole. They came across a mostly friendly group of pirates, who were also trapped in the system by the black hole. With Nuru's help, they were able to activate an infinity gate and escape the black hole. Meanwhile, Dooku attempted to manipulate his captive Jedi Ring Sol Ambase that Nuru was the one who sabotaged the ship and made it crash. Later on, the clone trooper Sharp broke Ring Sol out of Dooku's estate, but this was all according to plan, and Dooku intentionally let them escape. Nuru was called on by Palpatine again to escort a Kcaj ambassador to Coruscant. They were set to meet on the planet Vaseed, but they got attacked by a Mandalorian sniper named Hoodoo Shiv. Nuru took a swoop bike to go after Hoodoo Shiv, but the bike belonged to a gang that began to chase him. When they reached the sniper's position, they were ambushed with a grenade, and the blast took out many of the swoop gang members. One of the gangsters, a giant orange alien named Big Giz, hopped on Nuru's bike, and they both pursued the sniper. Hoodoo Shiv fired a blaster at the swoop bike, causing it to crash and knocked Big Giz unconscious. Nuru attempted to fight the Mandalorian, but he escaped to his ship before he could be questioned. Lalo Gunn fired on Hoodoo's ship, causing it to crash, believing the Mandalorian was killed. Also, before leaving the planet, Nuru decided to take Big Giz with him for helping save his life, and also to go to Bilbringi Depot, as the sniper had left a map of the Bilbringi system and Ring Sol Ambase's lightsaber behind. At Bilbringi, they encountered and apprehended Overseer Umbrag, and then they were surprised to see Vireen show up and tell Nuru that there was apparently a plot to take over the galaxy going on. Before she left, another ship with Sharp and Ring Sol Ambase showed up. Vireen's ship fired on it, so Ring Sol's ship returned fire and destroy the ship. Nuru and Ringsol could feel each other in the Force, and feeling Nuru's anger at Viring's apparent death, Ringsol wondered if Dooku was telling the truth about Nuru falling to the dark side. Dooku contacted him again, warning him that Nuru might be teaming up with the Chiss and the Sith and was trying to steal the pod that they found him in as an infant, to decode messages that would provide information with contacting the Chiss. Returning to Coruscant, Nuru and Ringsol both confronted each other, trying to keep the other from taking the pod, each of them believing the other had fallen to the dark side. Fortunately, Nuru was able to talk Ringsol down, and he collapsed. Days later, after Ringsol recovered, he retired from the Jedi Order for the guilt he felt in being manipulated by Dooku and giving in to anger. He returned to Kcaj to join his brother on his farm, and for his successful missions, Palpatine and Yoda both agreed that Nuru Kungurama should continue to lead Breakout Squad. Later, Nuru and Breakout Squad went on another mission to meet with Nogox the Hutt, and Nuru asked Big Giz once again to help him out. When they came across Nogox, they found that he was already murdered by an assassin, and before returning to Coruscant, Nuru and Giz both worked together to stop a Twi'lek kidnapper. For his heroic actions, Nuru acted as his friend's wingman to help impress a waitress at Dex's diner. So much like Ahsoka Tano, Ringsol Ambase walked away from the Jedi Order during the Clone Wars, so it is pretty likely he wasn't around for Order 66. As for Nuru, we don't know if he actually survived Order 66. However, years later, Big Giz comes back, most notably during Shadows of the Empire, with his partner Spiker. Spiker, who is a Chiss, is friends with Big Giz, and we don't exactly know his origins. Fan theories are one thing, but I'm pretty sure Ryder Wyndham was very much trying to connect these two characters. So there's the list of 10 more survivors, or potential survivors of Order 66. What do you all think? Considering there is no confirmed death for any of these characters, is there anyone on this list you want to see more stories about? Also, are there any Jedi that I'm leaving out from either this list or from my first one? If there's enough, I might even do a part 3 in the future. Please let me know all your thoughts in the comments below.